this FDP, which is an advance in renewable energy and smart grid integration. So to impart the knowledge and learning and development of new skill in the field of renewable energy, today we have our speaker, Dr. Neeraj Gupta. Okay, so I am honored to introduce him to the participant. So Dr. Neeraj Gupta is PhD in Power System from Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee, and he is senior member of IEEE. He was a faculty with the Thapar University from 2008 to 2009. Um, and he was also the faculty in the Adani Institute of Infrastructure Engineering, Ahmedabad, India in 2015, and NIT Hamirpur from 2015 to 2018. So presently he is working as an assistant professor in the Department of Electrical Engineering Department, National Institute of Technology, Srinagar, Jammu and Kashmir, India. His work has been published in Q1 International Journal of Repute like IEEE, elsewhere, etc. Okay. He is also the scientific advisory and organizing secretary of many reputed conferences of the country. He is referee of the reputed journal of IEEE, elsewhere, Taylor and Francis, IET. His research interests include the uncertainty quantification of the power system, probabilistic power system, solar, wind, and electric vehicle technology, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and the predictions. So, Dr. Neeraj Gupta, a warm welcome to the 5-day FDP, which is in Advanced in Renewable Energy Smart Integration. And I am very much anticipate that this talk will be very useful to all the participants available here. So, welcome to you, sir.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dr. Viral,
Thank you, sir.
for this session. So, and I hope that students will learn from this presentation also. So, can I present it?
Yes, sir. You can share.
Okay, okay. Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, slides are visible?
Yes, sir. It
Yes,
is
yes.
fine, sir. You can
Okay.
carry on.
So today's lecture is related to the different technologies in the electric vehicle and what are the different challenges of the electric vehicle. We can discuss the different challenges of this electric vehicle integration from different perspective, and secondly, that what are the future research that researchers can carry out in their research work. Because if you know, the electric vehicle nowadays, whole of the world is going for the electric vehicles because of the concern about this these environmental concern and all these factors. So as an engineer, you must know that where we are lagging, that what needs to be done, what infrastructure needs to be developed, so that you can have so that we can have idea that where we want to work. Now, what are the benefits of the adoption of the plug-in electric vehicles? So energy security, as you already know, that electricity is almost derived from the, you can say that if we want to adopt the plug-in electric vehicles, then we want that maximum of the electricity which will come, it will come from the sources which are renewable sources. And it means that we derive the energy exclusively from the domestic sources and reduce the petroleum imports, which leading to the nation's energy independence. So it can also contribute significantly to the balanced portfolio of domestically produced electrical energy. And second part is that is cleaner environment. That is, you can say that PV produce a very less carbon dioxide emissions, but provided that if we are using the sources which are renewable energy resources. That's why PEV is also associated with that we use the resources such that the carbon dioxide emissions would be reduced, and also if we are using the PEV, obviously the emissions would also be reduced, and the ongoing trend of increased electricity generation promises the benefits of reduced emissions. And another is that creating the stronger economy. If you see that if we are going for the PEVs and associated infrastructure have positive impact on the local and national economies, by creating the job opportunities, a large number of people are involved in that. So that is also one of the benefit of this adoption of the PEVs. Now, some of the benefits and the concern. If you see that what are the pros of the electric vehicles, we have the low maintenance, energy efficiency is there, then the reduced emissions would be there. And what are the cons of that? It means that we will have, since we are using the battery for that, exclusively battery for that, if you are using only the battery electric vehicle, and then in that very case, it will move to the very shorter distances. Then there is the issue of this battery pack replacement is there, and because we are not we don't have the much research and this battery technology, and batteries are very much expensive. That is, you can say that the difference between the conventional vehicle and the this electric vehicle is cost difference is only the cost of the battery. So that's what the battery is very much important, and many of the researchers are working on this reducing that. You can say that on reducing the cost of the battery. So one more thing is that the battery charging infrastructure for this electric vehicles and the regulatory policies by the utility networks, these are also the matters of concern to promote that penetration of the plug-in electric vehicle. It should be, and that is the utilities should be such that it would have the simple and the affordable pricing. That is, in some of the countries, if you see in the United States, that off-peak hourly charging is cheaper for public and the workplace charging in the United States. However, in that country also, the billing system is not so simple. So where the charging infrastructure at public charging station is yet to develop in the countries like Europe and Asia. Now, one more thing is that the public charging station supports the level 2 charging, that we can discuss that what is the level 2 charging in the next slides. So for the majority of car charging at home. And one more benefit is that it reduces the total carbon dioxide emissions, however, with the renewable energy. So charging network is powered by the renewable energy resource, and it reduces the carbon dioxide emissions. Now, to be proactive with this electric vehicle program, what we have to do, we have to expedite a broader consensus and develop the best practices around the plug-in electric vehicle, and also develop the electric vehicle support equipment. Support equipment means that suppose the charging equipment is there and all those equipments which are used for that very purpose. So one more thing is that we have to see that what is the impact of this plug-in electric vehicles on the this grid, because whatever we are getting, something we are getting from the grid and something we are getting from the renewable energy. And if renewable energy is actually integrated to the grid, then we are actually taking from the grid. So that thing we have to take into consideration. Sometimes it might happen that large number of vehicles, it will come at that particular point of time, and it will you can say that the grid will be loaded because of that. So what we have to do, we have to develop a PEV and this electric vehicle support infrastructure with objectives to represent a new and potentially significant opportunity to increase the electric vehicle revenue, and also, of course, to shape the load curves in that way. Now, here the figure here shows that the countries where you can have the share of the plug-in electric vehicles, and of course, it is seen from here that it is the Europe which leads that. That is Norway, Iceland, and then Sweden, and then Netherlands. So they are very much proactive in this program. Now, one more thing is that we have to develop the alternate business models to support this plug-in electric vehicle and electric vehicle support equipment industry and ecosystem. Like We must have the codes for that, ordinances and the regulatory permissions for that. So a roadmap which includes the integration issues of the utilities and public charging providers with the multiple technologies, devices, systems, and the applications. So then we will the new housing facility must be developed in such a way that it should have the this electric vehicle support infrastructure within within that rules and regulations, and also the marketing communication plan for communicating and educating the parties for successful implementation and adoption of this plug-in electric vehicles. Secondly, we also must sell direct to the local dealers. That is, like we have the prepaid cards for this mobiles. We must have the prepaid cards for the unlimited public charging. It is provided directly to the dealers. Some incentives, this kind of incentives must be given to promote a 1 year free deal to the customers. So attract transportation electrification customers. That is, a wide net is provided by including the vehicle charging for car share programs, workplace locations, and all that. Then capture funds outside the existing budgets. That is very, very much important, because that thing is we also have to take into consideration. So everything is correlated. Then engage the community. That it means that we have to spread the marketing and communication campaign for plugin everywhere. So and we have to plan for the future. Now here the figure shows that how with the time that we are going more towards the electric vehicles. That is the electric vehicle. Many of the companies have started this electric vehicle program, and we are moving towards that. Now, what are the electric vehicle technologies? If you see from the conventional, if you see the sources of energy and that is used for that is gasoline. For a hybrid, we will have the this battery and this gasoline. For plug-in hybrid, we are using more battery, and all electric we are using only the battery. And from this, you can see the emissions also. Emissions are reduced when we are moving from conventional to the all electric system. Then of course you can see there is the large reduction in the emissions, but we have to make sure that the sources we are using for charging must be the renewable energies resources. Otherwise we don't we gain somewhere and lose somewhere else. So that thing we have to take into consideration. Now, what are the plug-in electric vehicle, different plug-in electric vehicle technologies? So as you know, that plug-in electric vehicle, it uses the electric energy from battery as its primary power source. So use of this plug-in electric vehicles eliminates the need for the gasoline and diesel. The cars and the trucks have batteries to supply the energy needs, and these will need to plug into the recharge. So there are several types of the plug-in electric vehicles, each with the different features. Like if you see, the first one is the battery electric vehicle. Second one is the extended range electric vehicle. Now, plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. So battery electric vehicle is actually it is all electric vehicle. You can say that they depend on the electric motors to make them go. Large batteries are provided to that, and they need to be plugged into the power source to charge. Second one is the extended range electric vehicle. So in the extended range electric vehicle, if you see, the gasoline engine powers a generator that charges the battery, and the electric motor turns the wheel. So they run on the electricity until the battery is depleted. And plug-in hybrid vehicle. So what is plug-in hybrid vehicle? It actually uses both the gasoline, means petrol and diesel, and the battery powered electric motor. The battery is charged by the electricity generated by the brakes and plugging in the car. So these are some of the configurations of this types of this plug-in electric vehicles. So we can have different plug-in electric vehicle technologies. That is series hybrid only. The electric motor provide power to drive the wheels. And in this case, the sources of energy are either the battery pack or generator, which is powered by the thermal engine. So such vehicles are also known as the extended range electric vehicles. Second one is the parallel hybrid. So in case of the parallel hybrid, both the electric motor and the fossil power engines provides power to the parallel to the same transmission. It means that they are parallel to it, Either it can take this power from this battery, or it can take power from the fossil powered engine. Now, third one is the power splitter series parallel hybrid. So actually, it is very important. So it because of the fact that it combines the advantage of both parallel and series hybrid concepts. This means that it can use parallel and series hybrid concepts, and you can run the vehicle in very optimal way by using the electric motors only, or by using the internal combustion engine and the electric motors together, it depending upon the driving condition. So it is very important part, and the researchers can definitely work on that part. If power system researchers, that is optimal way of driving these this electric vehicles. So this is the configuration that we have already discussed, that is series hybrid, series parallel hybrid configuration, and parallel hybrid configuration. Now, as you know that state of the charge, if one knows electric vehicle, he must know the state of the charge. It is actually the index in percentage of the nominal energy capacity of the battery remaining in the battery. So it determines the energy mode to drive. So what is the advantage of that? The advantage of the plug-in electric vehicle is the capability to derive in different energy modes. First energy mode is the charge depleting mode, and second one is the charge sustaining mode. From this diagram, you will see that this is the charge depleting mode and this is the charge sustaining mode. That is, first one is the CD, is the charge depleting mode, and second one is the charge sustaining mode. Now, what is the charge depleting mode? So charge depleting mode powered by the energy stored in the battery, and this is suitable for the urban driving. It means that whatever is stored in the battery, it will be depleted. So that is the mode, charge depleting mode, and it is suitable for the urban driving. The second one is the charge sustaining mode. So in this case, when the battery is recharged over a driving profile to maintain the SOC level. If you see this figure, CS is the charge sustaining mode. It means that first, if let us suppose the battery is discharging, then again, it is charged such to maintain a definite amount of SOC level. So that is the charge sustaining mode. So the two modes can be combined depending upon the driving range to take the advantage of the PEVs. The discharge cycle will influence the energy demand over the distance traveled and the environmental performance. However, the feasibility of charge sustaining mode depends upon the driving distance and the availability of the charging facilities from the grid. So driving behavior and energy management mode will influence the actual distance traveled. Now, next is the different configurations. We will have first we have the battery with plug-in charging facilities, then charge controller power electronic devices. This first one is the all electric configuration where battery is used. Then we will have the electric motor, and then we are using the transmission gear and the wheels. Second one is actually the hybrid system in which we have the battery with the plug-in charging facilities, charge controller or power electronic. Then we have the electric motor, and we have another fuel system that is coming from the IC, that is an internal combustion engine, so which will drive the motor and it will drive in an optimal way. The first one is the battery electric vehicle, and second is the hybrid. So these are actually the configurations, and these are some of the components of this. Like if you see the electric motors, so this device converts the electrical energy in the battery to mechanical energy and propelling the vehicle forward or backward by the AC or DC motor. Then we will have the electric generators here. So what the electric generator is doing? The electric generator converts the mechanical energy into electrical energy. In some vehicles, the two functions are combined in a single device by a motor generator set. Then we will have the inverters. So if you see the battery packs in which it will invariably supply the DC current. So the AC motor in the PV is coupled with the battery pack using an inverter. So inverter converts the DC from a battery to AC and powers the AC motor. Then we will have the charger. So charger works in conjunction with the generator. So it works in conjunction with the generator. It converts the AC electrical output from a generator to DC and charges the battery pack. So these devices are usually fitted with a control mechanism. And last one is the large battery pack. So as you know, the battery pack store the energy that is required to power the plug-in electric vehicle. So different type of electric vehicles, it use the different variants of the battery packs, like we have lithium ion and all that. So of this system, the lithium ion battery pack will be the dominant battery in the future of this electric vehicle. So battery packs it is heavily significant price difference between the normal vehicles and BEVs, that I already told that the difference between the normal vehicle and the electric vehicle is only the cost of the battery. So these are the components of the drivetrain that we have discussed. That is, we have the energy storage system, that is battery pack here. Then we will have the power electronic converter, then motor, then internal combustion engine, and mechanical coupling, which is coupled to the wheels. Now, plug-in electric vehicle. So these have two modes of operation, that is an all-electric mode and the blended mode that we have discussed. Blended means the hybrid mode. So you can also call it as a hybrid mode. So if you see that here the charger which is used to 40-volt AC charger, then we will have the control device. It is a connector, then inlet, then charger and battery pack on that. So it is one of the configuration, and this system, that is control device, and this cord and up to that, it is known as electric vehicle support equipment. So this is very much important. So electric vehicle support equipment consists of the control device, cord, connector, coupler, and that inlet. Now, what are the different impacts? So if you are getting something good, then definitely you have to give in a negative way. So one of the important part is that if you see that electric vehicle, we are charging the electric vehicle at the distribution level. So it has the technical impacts on the, you can say, the distribution power network. So it depends upon that with the vehicle penetration level, charging pattern, fleet charging profile, distribution network power losses, integration of plug-in electric vehicle at the transformer level, vehicle driving pattern, demand response strategy to reduce the peak load, and driving distance, battery sizes, and tariffs. So this impact will vary depending upon these factors. If you see in this diagram, if you see in this figure, when the local electric vehicle penetration hits 25%, then you can say that the peak circuit loads grow to 30%. It means that the load will increase 30% if the electric vehicle penetration is 25%. 30% is a very significant amount. So that thing we have to take into consideration. We have to make the rules and regulations. We must have the permits for that. We don't allow anyone to use. We must have the different type of sockets for that. We don't allow anyone to charge the vehicle at any point of time, because it will increase this load curve. The load curve will shoot up, and as a result, it will affect the transformer, and losses will also be increased. So that thing should be taken into consideration. Now, one more impact, that is widespread use of this electric vehicle with the new vehicle technology has a positive impact on the environment and the economy. It helps for the clean transportation and energy independence. These are environmentally friendly. They reduce the emissions. It means we have seen, and from this figure, if you see that by 2030, a significant amount of the carbon dioxide emission is reduced by using this electric vehicle. When the penetration is much more, in that very case, the significant carbon dioxide emissions can be reduced. And as a study, if you see in US by 2050, it will require, if you see the case of electricity, if you compare it with the electricity, then in that very case, a study has been conducted in the US. Only 8% increase in the electricity generation and is required for half of the total electric. If they replace half of the total vehicles there with the electric vehicles. So 8% is also a big amount, but with time, I think the regulatory policies will be put in place, and as a result, we can have that thing also. So other impacts of this power grid due to the increased penetration are increase in the power load in the grid for charging Ps in an uncontrolled scenario, where the consumer behavior and the charging timings are unpredictable. Off-peak chargings of PEVs improve the load curve for the electric utilities. However, the use of high penetration plug-in electric vehicles should be properly optimized under the different charging scenarios and technologies. One important point as a researcher is that we should schedule the charging of the electric vehicle in such a way that this penetration in the low peak periods, we must have some incentives must be given to that. So that is also one of the area of the research where the researchers are working on that. So other impacts on the power grid due to the increased penetration or the increase in the additional power load in the grid, you can say. So and also charge management is also one of the factors that you have to take into consideration. That is, certain strategies are required to manage the charging behavior to limit the daily charging peak, and the charge management is also one of the factor and the tariff rates. Now, figure here shows this impact of the uncontrolled charging of the electric vehicle. If you see that if in this figure, if you see if we have the uncontrolled EV charging system and no optimization has been used in that very case, the peak load has been increased. So it is an uncontrolled pattern. So we don't want to allow that, because peak load has been increased to a significant amount, because it is given in the gigawatt, and the change is also in the gigawatt. So it is a very significant amount. So what we do, instead of that, we will optimize the EV charging pattern in such a way that we will charge at that particular point of time where the load is less, and as a result we can reshape the load curve also. So that is very important part, and the researchers can also work on that very aspect, that how to optimize so that we can get the benefits out of that. So if you see with this PEV battery capacity range from 2 to 17 kilowatt, the energy requirement will be 5 to 40 kilowatt hour on a slow charging. So the power demand in a charger is actually a function of voltage and the current of the charger. And the battery capacity determines the charging time and is inversely proportional to the state of the charge of the battery. And also the electric load curve in the power system depends on the percentage of plug-in electric vehicle penetration and the charging strategies. So the charging station has a single AC-DC conversion device. DC distribution with the supercapacitor energy storage device supplies power to the battery, and when the power demand for the charger exceeds the average demand of the grid, a 230 kVA transformer is required for every 50 parking spaces. And accordingly, we can say the infrastructure for charging station and system integration of the electric vehicle to the grid operation is required. Demand response is also one of the areas which another dynamic benefit to the grid by interrupting the plug-in electric vehicle demand on the peak hours that we have discussed. So plug-in bidirectional vehicle to grid batteries in a smart grid charging become a distributed storage system for the electrical. That is very important point. It is because of the fact that instead of only considering this electric vehicles as the loads, it's better to use those batteries when they are ideal, to use those batteries so that they become the distributed storage systems for the electric grid, and it will help in the stability and the frequency regulation of that particular grid. So now what is there in the V2G? It is also known as the vehicle to grid, V2G. So energy supply to the grid is priced that pays back the additional cost of V2G batteries in the plug-in electric vehicles. The distributed storage would make the grid more stable, secure, resilient, and as a result, the regulation would also be easy, and we can have the backup and spinning reserve also for that. So V2G system allows greater penetration of this wind and solar resources into the grid, It means that V2G promises permanent application in global transition to the emerging green and sustainable energy. So V2 means that whenever, let us suppose that whenever the vehicles are idle, that can be plugged into the system, and that can be used to give the supply back to the this back to the utility, and as a result, like we can have the renewable energy resources nowadays, and it has a reverse metering. That thing can also be used in this V2G. So large scale penetration will impact the different aspects of the this you can say the power grid, and that is with the increase in the load, the operating temperature of the transformers will increase. Then with the increase in the loading, so there is the power supply shortage. If the battery charging profile includes the on peak period, and the batteries should be storing electricity from the lowest carbon emitting resources, namely nuclear and renewable energy. But the challenge is then how to make the two demand and supply load curves coincide. Now, other some of the impacts are also, that is the battery load curve depends on the time for charging and the charging power. The new plug-in electric vehicle fleet impacts the electricity transport and generation capacity. So electricity grid operators require innovative management methods to tackle that issues. More integration methods by the researchers must be explored to make this possible. Innovations are also being considered in the framework of research and development towards a smart and reliable grid as needed by growing role of distributed energy resources, including intermittent renewable energy resources. The utilities should know the location. That is very important point. That is, the utilities must know about the location of the PEVs that are plugged in their distribution network. If, let us suppose, one customer it adds a charging station at their home, the utility may not determine the adequacy of the transformer capacity and mode of collection of additional expenditure for upgradation of the electrical system to meet the additional load due to the sudden charging by the PEV cluster at that particular amount of time. So that thing is also must be there. So as a mitigation strategy, nowadays most of the utilities are developing the PEV charging permit requirements. That is there, like you have in electricity also, you have an electricity board also, and previously we were using when the ACs were not common at that very amount of time, so we will have to take the permission for installing that. So that is also they also considering that, because with the large penetration of the this PEV, it will actually charging permits would be required, so that the grid would not be affected because of that. So one more point is that advanced distribution management system is critical to this solution. That is, we must use the advanced management distribution system. Advanced analytics, that is data science, must be required for that. Now, coupled with the intelligent line transformer sensors, this distribution management system can help operators to understand the operations in real time, and smarter meters could be a huge benefit to more effectively manage the network. Another utility has to plan for the advanced metering infrastructure and integrated system model to manage the charging distribution environment. So service providers will also need tools to manage the this plug-in electric vehicle charging load, then providing incentives to the consumers to charge the PEVs in a more diversified pattern. Charging stations should have the facilities that must communicate with the plug-in electric vehicle and determine the battery storage status, transfer the information to this then distribution management system. This would enable the utility to either proceed with the charging the EV or the charge later, schedule the charge. So main idea is to charge only the plug-in electric vehicles with near depleted battery power. So when the utility is having the peak energy event. So that is different models has been proposed by the different researchers based on that, and different solutions has been given by different researchers. So And this is one, you can say, this is an example of this distribution management. This is a smart meter. This is the figure of the smart meter. So, in when you can say that the incentives must be provided for a network-friendly charging patterns for the consumers and the utilities. Smart meters would be installed to track the electricity in the real time. The smart charger, which include a charger that runs on the timer, would ensure that this plug-in batteries are charged only when the electricity is at its cheapest and saving money to the consumer. So that is one of the that is so we also use along with this this charging infrastructure. The everything smart should be used so that we can have the because of the front end, and as a result the tail end people should be benefited out of that. So utilities could temporarily turn off charges in thousands of homes or businesses to keep the grid safe during the peak hour. So these are some of the issues that should be taken into consideration. Now, if when the high with the high penetration of plug-in electric vehicle and electric grid, there is the problem with the distribution system, because what we are doing, we are connecting the plug-in electric vehicle to the distribution system. So there is first one is the phase imbalance is there. That is a lower percentage of PEVs using the single phase charging results in the larger variation in the current imbalance, but the lower total load reduces the voltage imbalance. And when the higher number of the plug-in electric vehicles are charging, then the diversity increases and so lowers the current imbalance and keeps the voltage imbalance within the limits. Now, there are also power quality issues. That is when the uh, plug-in electric vehicle charger works in a low voltage and it converts AC to DC and supplies through DC to DC converter. It produces the harmonic distortion and distribution system, and you know that nonlinear elements like we have inverters, battery chargers. It increases the voltage distortion and current harmonics significantly in the power system. Also, the battery charges for the plug-in electric vehicle produce the harmful effects in distribution system and residential electric appliances. So here shows the EV impact assessment on the power system. Like one of the beneficial impacts is V2G technology, and the harmful effect on the power system is the increase in the power losses, voltage instability, increase in the peak demand, power quality issues, and overloading of the distribution component. So that thing should be taken into consideration. And one more impact is the transformer degradation and failure. So if you see, the transformers are designed for a typical load pattern, and when PVs with a large loading has been deployed, so the load pattern will significantly change, and the power system may not be able to handle that particular pattern and additional load requirement. And one of the study conducted by researchers shows that the failure ratio has been increased by 0.02% per year and reduce the life of transformer by 69% for a peak hour level 2 charging scenario. So level 2 charging we can discuss. So next is the circuit breakers and fuse blowout. So these are also stressed out. So harmonic distortion affects the interruption capability of circuit breaker. So high harmonic current on the fuse behavior has thermal effects and dissimilar current distribution that derate the factors of interruption and extend the arcing period of the fuse blowout. Now, EV charging will require the smart chargers that are integrated into the smart grid infrastructures with the two-way communication that we have already discussed. Smart grid communication standards and technologies for home area networks are being considered nowadays, and it will also play the significant role in design and the development of plug-in electric vehicles. So we have to consider this also, that is home area networks. Now the standards. Now for charging of electric vehicle, we are actually using the certain standards. That is industry standard SAE J1772 has defined the battery charging levels, and these are followed to recharge the battery. Three charging levels are given by the Electric Power Research Institute, US. So level one. So level one charges, it uses the standard of 120 volt AC, 15 ampere and 20 ampere branch circuit, and used in the residential and the commercial buildings. It delivers the 1.44 kilowatt maximum power. The method requires a new dedicated circuit for the user to avoid the overload. So this is the most immediate solution in the United, particularly in US. Level 2 method. It is based on 240 volt AC, single phase branch circuit up to 40 ampere, requiring a dedicated circuit under 15 ampere. The maximum charge produced would be 3.3 kilowatt, and this method could be implemented both for residential and the public charging. Now, level 3 charging, it is suitable for the fast charging, though public facilities based on 480 volt AC three-phase circuit and enabling 60 to 150 kilowatt charging power. So this option implies a number of specific safety precautions. So you can say that level 3 charging is the fast charging, and it can charge the battery up to 80% of the capacity in a very short time. So level 1 in it's a standard of United States. Level 1 uses 120 volt AC, level 2 240 volt AC, and level 3 we are using 480 volt AC. So these are configurations and the ratings by this standard SAE International. And we have this level 1 and level 2 AC level 1, AC level 2, and these are these sockets which are used for charging facilities. Now this is a different charging levels type of has been given, like you see that we have discussed. AC level 1, it used 120 volt, AC level 2, 240 volt, AC level 3, 240 volt, and the current rating is also given. DC level 1, DC level 2, and DC level 3. So these actually the standards for charging. Now, if you see, the level 2 method would be enough to level 3 method, that is 240 volt in case of US. So it would be enough to ensure a rich charging infrastructure. In addition to these charging facilities, options are also being considered to make the charging faster and save the driver to charge the battery himself. So this thing should be taken into consideration. And the industry has a standard connector specifications of level 1 and level 2 charging. A specific plug is also, that is J1772 is used. The connector is used for all the plug-in passenger vehicles using the level 1 and level 2 charging. The time required to recharge varies significantly and depend upon the model of the vehicle, the size of the battery, and amount of the energy needed by the car at the plugged-in time. Now, these are some of the about the standards. Now, the technical, what are the different technical issues that are faced by the this electric vehicle? So, first one is the most important, is the storage technology. If you see, the storage technology is very much lagging as it is very much lagging. Now, while research has been done on that technologies, but still we can't be able to do much in that, though we have a long way to go, but still many of the researchers are working on that. And because it is a storage technology is it is crucial for the electric vehicle implementation. It is the crucial, like one of the matrix battery technology has been developed. So the matrix battery technology, it depends on the special configuration of combined series and the parallel cells that can perform optimally even if the individual cells becomes dysfunctional. So this critical ability helps manufacturers address the reliability issues while bringing down the cost. So researchers must work on this storage technologies, and like they came with the matrix battery technology. Then we have to look beyond lithium. So like if you see, the Toyota is working on the magnesium sulfur combination over lithium, which ranks high in longer storage hours, weight, reliability, and life. So third one is the battery performance. So battery performance and cost are essential factors in the development of this battery electric vehicle. The key performance parameters are the energy, power, lifetime, safety, cost. Batteries make up roughly 1/3 of the cost of today's electric vehicle. So that is very much important. The researchers are working on increasing the performance of the battery or decreasing the cost of the battery. Now, one more point is that the lithium-ion batteries are commonly used for the vehicle applications. However, they are expensive. So you can say that with an average range of 60 to 80 miles, it costs more than the price difference between this battery electric vehicle and the traditional vehicles. So
Dr. Neeraj, sorry to disturb you. Your voice is not coming. Am I audible to you, Dr. Neeraj? Your voice is not coming. All the participants, please wait. I think there is some technical issue. We will be joining soon.
Yes, sir. You can share now the screen, sir. Yes, sir.
okay, is it visible?
Sir, I think it is coming. Yeah,
Okay.
visible, sir.
So then we have technical issues, energy, power, lifetime. Then technical issues, that is we have the nickel magnet hydrate batteries are typical batteries used by the manufacturer. So we will move to some other this battery some other you can say that some other mineral for that. Battery disposal, it is also one of the factors. So the batteries for the electric vehicles are recycled after their life, while the recycling the batteries, a small percentage of this battery, especially lead and cadmium, would leak into the environment. So that has severe human health conditions. So that must be taken into consideration. And of course, the battery cost, like the cost of lithium ion batteries includes the material cost, manufacturing cost, other cost for research and development, marketing, and transportation. So that are some of the technical issues which must be taken into consideration. So battery characteristics, like if you see the characteristics of the battery, that is key parameters of the batteries used in different type are: what is the range of the battery, all electric range, material, that is total capacity, what is the total capacity, specific energy, energy density, and mass of the pack, peak power, specific power, battery pack, weight, and life in years, and deep cycle life numbers, and specific cost. So these are the technical issues related to the battery. Now, one more important point is that the lithium supply security. If you see, the current technology for the plug-in electric vehicle is based on the lithium-ion battery and electric motor. So, lithium, heavy metals, and other elements are used for batteries and the powertrain in the plug-in electric vehicles. So demand for these materials is expected to grow significantly due to the incoming market entrance of the plug-in electric vehicles. So some of the largest world reserves of lithium and other rare metals are in China and South America throughout, and Chile was the leading lithium metal producer, followed by Australia, Chile, Argentina, and US. Nearly half of the world's total lithium reserves, about 5.4 million tons, are located in Bolivia deserts, and other important reserves are located in Chile, China, and Brazil. So rare earth metals used in the batteries mostly are located in China, and that controls the world market for these elements. So one of these issues is also the lithium supply security, because if you want to go for all electric, then you must have that material for. Now, some of the technologies nowadays which has been used all over the world. One is the battery swapping. That is, this is one of the approach to resolve the problems of the lack of recharging infrastructure. One of the company which involved in that is the Better Place. So here, what it does. So it has the business model which considers that the electric cars are built and sold separately from the battery pack. It means that the consumers are not allowed to purchase the battery packs. They must lease from the Better Place, which deploy a network of battery swapping stations and swapping station whenever it is required. So that is one of the solution by some of the companies. It means that the subscribers have to pay the per distance fee to cover the battery pack leasing, charging, and swap infrastructure. So it has been deployed in many of the countries. You will see Australia, Denmark, Israel, Canada, California, and Hawaii. So many of the countries are using that Better Place. So the first modern commercial deployment of the battery swapping was implemented in Israel and Denmark by this company, that is the Better Place. And the development of charging and swapping infrastructure cost high investment. So Tesla Motors also designed its Model S to allow the fast battery swapping, which just takes about in even 90 seconds. So load management solution. So along with that, this was one of the solutions. Battery swapping was one of the solution to deal with the growing need. And second was the load management solution. So the load management solution is required for coordinating and charging of multiple electric vehicles in a smart system. So that is also one of the work the researchers should explore. That is the load management with the electric vehicles. So as you know that the utilities are becoming concerned about the potential stress, performance, degradations, and overloads, and that may occur in the distribution system with the multiple domestic charging activities. And if you see, if you use the uncontrolled and random charging, it can cause the power losses, overloads that we have already discussed, fluctuations, so and security of newly developing small grids. So a real-time load management solution along with the control strategies is also required for the coordination of a plug-in electric vehicle based on the real time and minimization of total cost of generating the energy plus the associated grid energy losses. So this you can say that this researchers can work on that very aspect is only. Like if you see from the figure, and the first we have the static load management, and second one we have the dynamic load management, and third one is the schedule based load management. It means that schedule based between depending upon the schedule of that, and depending upon the what would be the cost minimization, what would be the energy minimization, that is actually the schedule based load management that has been implemented here. However, if you take the case of a static load management, then we will have 4 vehicles are there in the line, then 25% to every vehicle should be used. So if you see that diffusion of plug-in electric vehicle is expected to increase considerably over the next few years, and many of the adult charging systems in the real time with the smart grid will need it increasingly to overcome the severe overload problems in the electric distribution grids caused by the huge demand for energy to charge a large number of vehicles. So adoption of the vehicle charging rate is very promising solution to fully exploit the distribution grid capacity, allowing the higher consumer satisfaction. So it means that the successful, it means that we will have the variable charging rate for the different at different time, and for a different type of consumer. So that is also one of the part of the smart charging infrastructure. Now, we also use the DC fast charging equipment. This is the battery electric vehicle is gearing up for the spread of the DC fast charging technology, which promises drastic reductions in the battery charging time. So a new connector also which combines the AC and DC in one unit based on the standard developed by Society of Automotive Engineers is now in competition with an earlier system known as CHAdeMO, which was developed by Japanese automakers and Tokyo Electric Power Company. And the vendors also report that DC fast charging can reduce the time to full charge on a standard battery electric vehicle from 6 to 8 hours to less than 1 hour. So there is also one of the solutions that has been implemented. Now, curbside charging station. So what is a curbside charging station? So charging station that are installed in the curbside, that is near the side of this, you can say side of the road, which allow the access to vehicles from the street traffic public right of way is known as the curbside charging. And some of the standards has also been proposed by many of by those who are implementing it. That is where the location, where shall be the electric vehicle support instrument should be installed, and what is the accessibilities for all these things. So these are some of the you can say that some of the rules has been devised for this curbside charging station. So it is an example of smart charging infrastructure. Now, figure shows the smart charging infrastructure. The main idea of this smart charging infrastructure is that everyone, that is the utility and the users and these charging stations, these are interconnected through a this cloud, and then from that they know the status of what is the charging status, what is the nearest charging station, so that, and what would be the cost if we charge at that particular point of time, and if we delay the charging, what would be the cost. So that is very much important. So that smart charging infrastructure connected with the data and every data sharing with the different utilities, users, and the charging stations, that is very much important for the smart charging infrastructure implementation. Now, one more important charging infrastructure is the off-street charging station. So the charging stations that are not located in the public right of way, such as designed fueling or parking spots, are considered as off-charging stations, and some of the rules and regulations has also been devised for this off-street charging stations. So these are some of the rules and the regulations that has been devised for that. Now, integration of the this plug-in electric vehicle to electric grid. So, in an integrated smart system, the electric vehicle with the vehicle to grid system is capable to send the power to the electric grid, which is known as the V2G. So, an automobile with V2G is referred to as, you can say, it's a mobile energy or the smart charging. And with the V2G technology, the parked car could supply electricity to the grid. That is, during the ideal hours, they can help to maintain the stability, to maintain the frequency. So what are the main benefits of V2G? So profitable grid management, especially for ancillary services, support the stable operation of the electric system, and consists in online generators synchronized to grid to keep the frequency and voltage steady, ready to be increased or decreased instantly by automatic generation control and the spinning reserve. So this is an example of V2G. If you see, it's a grid 2. These are actually the V2G centers. So if you see here V2G, in that very case, what these vehicles are actually, during the ideal, they will supply the electricity through the battery to the grid, so that so they can also take part in that regulation of that grid. So a smart grid has to cope up with the larger scale integration of distributed energy resources, intelligent and controllable loads, and electric vehicles. So increasing number of electric vehicles brings an extensive amount of distributed and fast response battery storage capacity. So paving the way for the new changes for renewable energy system integration. So if you see, the renewable integration of an electric vehicle in the electric power system poses a challenge on technical, economic, policy, and regulatory issues that should be managed with the new architects, concepts, algorithms, and procedures. So that is a very important part. PEVs also offer an uncommon opportunity to address the energy security, air quality, climate change, and the economic growth. The market growth is uncertain due to the policy, economics, and technical challenge and easy adoption of PEVs nationwide. So for the integration of PEVs to the electric grid, so regulatory framework to foster innovation to increase PEV without compromising the reliability of the electric grid must be taken into consideration. We have the public and the private investment in the charging infrastructure. We can do that. Then facilitate PEV rollout for the easy purchase and the consumer education on PEV technology. So these are some of the steps that must be taken for the integration of PEVs into the electric vehicle. Here it shows the diagram for the integration purposes in this electric grid. If you see, we have the generation here, then we have the electric vehicle here, then we have the e-car infrastructure, then distribution transformer, then we have the energy storing facilities here, generation and consumption level at the low voltage and the bi-direction power flow. So it is at the only the distribution level, so that we can optimize the during the installation stage. We can optimize the things in such a way that we can have the minimum losses and we can have the minimum cost of that, and all the things we can get on board. So these things should be taken into consideration, and the researchers must work on the implementation of that. So some of the promotion strategies which has been used by the various government agencies for the implementation of the PEVs is the incentives to the consumers, incentives to the manufacturers and the sales of the PEVs, incentives to this electric vehicle support equipment, the charging infrastructure, incentives to private and public fleet owners, incentives to promote V2G technology, and incentives to administrative promotions of plug-in electric vehicles. So some of the promotion strategies must be used if you want that this electric vehicle implementation and the benefits of the electric vehicle implementation. Now, related to the charging of these electric vehicles, we have the different kind of charging. We have the wired charging also and the wireless charging also. Like this wireless charging, actually, instead of using that wires, we are using the transmitter for the charging. purposes. Like if you see that we will have here, we have the transmitter and we have the receiver, and because of that, that it is being charged. So wireless nature of the transmission makes it useful in environments where the implementation of the physical connectors can be inconvenient. So are impossible, particularly the electric vehicle. So it is actually the different type of standards which are adopted by the different countries. So it shows that. Now it is the different charging levels that we have already discussed, that AC level 1, AC level 2, DC level 1, DC level 2. So it is actually the schematic of level 2 charging schematic. Level 2 means that 240 volt as per the US standard. So we are using this, and then we have we are using the AC here, then cord connector, then inlet, and this is the battery charger, and this is the battery. So this is the DC level 2 charging schematic, because whatever is coming from this utility is 480 volt AC. So it should be first converted into DC. So for that purpose, we have the used equipment for used for that very purpose. That is, we're using the equipment in the electric vehicle support equipment. So this is the inductive charging that has been nowadays. It is also in the research stage that many of the companies have started implementing that. However, it is still in the research stage, and it is if we do the charging that is wirelessly, then I think it's a very significant contribution, because no need of anything like connectors and all that kind of things. So this is one of the schematic of the swapping stations that has been implemented particularly by the Better Place. So what is there when the vehicle drive in, then remove the dead battery is removed by a robotic arm, then a new battery has been installed by the robotic arm, and it will drive. So this is one of the schematic of this swapping station that has been of this Better Life that we have already discussed. So some of the technical challenges, because we know the battery swapping is a good option for us, but some of the technical challenges in which we can work, that is upfront is investment in the battery pack is very huge, very large amount investment is required. Standardization is very much difficult. We have to make a particular standard for all the companies. Swapping station require a lot of financial investment, because lots of things are involved in the swapping stations, the robotic arms and all these kind of things. And safety and reliability is also one of the big concern. So this is one of the general process for installing the ABS-C. So one more point is that whenever we are charging installing the charging station, we have to take into consideration the time and the space factor. Like if you see, this is also one of the research you can say topic, that is coordination of the time and the space. Time and space uncertainties, are quantifying the time and the space uncertainties. Now, if you see that there are, in this case, there are several charging events at different locations and times for the traveler activities. So what is that we have to develop the system in such a way that we can study the complex behavior of that particular system, and also we can minimize all the this cost and losses, so that it would be beneficial for us for the utilities also. It means that we have to take into consideration these temporal and the spatial uncertainties. So if you see, among all the engineering consideration, the power system and transportation system are the two different aspects, are the two different and the most important aspects when we are charging the charging facilities. PV and charging infrastructure interconnect a power grid and charging infrastructure, and the emerging PVs will change the this temporal and spatial patterns of traffic in the transportation network. So which essentially will lead to an uncertain charging load to a power grid, which is due to the fact that sometimes a person wants to charge the vehicle then in that very case, what he does, then at that particular time, he will charge the vehicle, but he doesn't take into consideration about this transportation, about the loads of that is what is the load at that particular point of time, and what is the transportation status. So that thing should be taken into consideration. And one more example is that the commercial charging station capacities and prices will be significant factors in causing the drivers to choose the particular routes and change their behavior, and as a result we will have you can say that the traffic would be high at that particular point of time, and the load would also be high. So what we do, we must need a different approach for investigating the impact of PEV charging on highly interdependent electric transportation system. That is what we have to do. We have to take into consideration the power system. We have to take into consideration the transportation system, and coordinate in such a way that we are beneficial. That utilities and the users are beneficial. So for charging the temporal and spatial uncertainties, so what are the different challenges that modeling the spatio-temporal traffic demand, quantifying the spatio-temporal profile of PV charging load on electricity distribution network as a function of transportation network operation, and exploring the system impacts on the spatio-temporal electricity charging loads under the various charging schemes. So these are some of the methods the researchers can use for the temporal and spatial uncertainties to take into consideration. For this temporal, you can use the probability distribution function, differentiating scenario sampling for you can use the Markov chain theory and fuzzy logic system. For spatial dimension, you can use the dynamic traffic flow model, parking generation rate model, demographic model, and traffic simulation software. So these are some of the solutions that the researchers can work on that. Now, figure here shows the temporal and the uncertain spatial uncertainties. If you see that in first one, the temporal scheduling has been done. In second one, the spatial scheduling has been done. Temporal depends on the time and spatial depends on space. So that total scheduling is required, so that what we can do, we can work on both the temporal and the spatial scheduling and get the best out of these two. So now, what is the importance of this electric vehicle modeling and simulation? So if we want to simulate something, and if we simulate that, then in that very case it would predict the traffic dynamics, network flow patterns, by solving how to assign the time varying vehicles to a congested time varying network under time dependent user equilibrium conditions, or under the time dependent system optimal conditions. So because we are using this electric vehicle only at the distribution level, so planners must focus on the distribution level power analysis. So the transportation modeling and simulation tool will have to capture the dynamics of individual travelers rather than the aggregate travel demand, because for the individual travel, since the capacity is less, that's why we are using the distribution system. So in order to model the PV travel activities in a transportation system, we need to integrate an activity-based travel demand model with a simulation-based dynamic traffic assignment model to model the travel choices of each PEV driver. And the results from the integrated modeling and simulation will provide to each PEV the battery, state of charge, duration of location, and the routing plan. And you can say that the modeling and simulation is very much important for the dynamics of the electric vehicle, because it will give an overview of the different aspects in that electric vehicle to the utility, to the users, and to the charging facilities. Now, we can the researchers can work on that is strategies to employ the emerging advanced intelligent transportation techniques for that very purpose. That is, they can work on the data science so that modeling can be, we can have real-time information of everything related to that. So what is the different factors that we are getting out of the modeling of the simulation? That is, we are getting the activity location. It depends on the characteristics related to the trips purpose attributes related to the traveling, then activity duration. So the choice of activity duration, then departure time, the choice when to depart from a location, and the route chosen by the traveler. So all these things when combined in a modeling and the simulation, and in that very case, we will get a very wonderful solution, and where everyone knows that what is the location, what is the duration, time, and so that the particular this particular charging pattern, charging can be devised for that very purpose. So here shows that here we have that we have already discussed that the power distribution system is there, and the transportation system is there. So we can try to integrate these transportation system and the power distribution system, so that um, we can have so that we can have this uh, we can have the detailed view of all these two things, so that we can merge these two three things, so that and the output we are getting as the which will be beneficial for the this industry, this utility, as well as the consumer. So it is also one of the analytical framework for coupling and modeling of simulation of power systems and the transportation system. Like individual PEV traffic plan has been given, then we have the data estimation is given. Then after that, it will go to this power flow constants are also included in that we have to include all the factors related to that. So this is about control and management of the PEV parking lot. Now, if the parking lot control and management are not carried out properly, then large number of electric vehicles are might degrade the power system stability. It means that it will affect to the stability of the system, and the reliability is at stake. So we must have this control and management of this PV parking lots. We can work on that control and management, which is also one of the topic for the researchers to work on. So if this is control and management is regulated wisely, then it could serve as a distributed energy storage to relieve the peak demand and maintain the real-time balancing of generation and the load. So this is all about the control and management. That is specificated control and management is the need of the art, so that we can have we can control and manage the things in a very in a very different way, so that all the things are related to the power system and all the things related to the transportation system would be under control. Now, this is one of the this is one of the schematic of this control and the management of the parking lots. That is, for the control and the management of the parking lots, we need the information from the PEV charging station. Then we will have the information from the aggregator. Then this grid operator. So that information must be available from all. Then we will have the communication infrastructure. That communication infrastructure gives us it will help in communicating all the all the stakeholders in there. Then we will have the information infrastructure, economic and social network, and the transportation system. So this is one of the schematic of the control and management of the PV parking lots. And I think this control and management, while considering all these factors, we can do the control and management. Different researchers are using the different parameters for that. However, you can exclude one parameter and include other parameter. It depends upon the work in which you are in the work, and that is it depends upon that research in which you want to work. So now one more thing is that with the PEV parking lots has always been, as I have discussed, that the PEV parking lots has always been this implemented with the distributed renewable energy resources. This is due to the fact that because of that only we can get the this importance of this electric vehicle, and that is we can get the true benefits of that electric vehicle. If you see, if this is actually the schematic of this integration of this system, electric vehicles charging system to the renewable energy resources. Here we will have the parking deck management system. Then we have the renewable energy system. Then we have the traffic behaviors given by the transportation system. Then we have the consumer preference, social impact. You can also include in that whenever you are doing the optimizations in that. Then we have the charging. So it will give the information about the price information and price allocation and the consumer preference. So it is one of the schematic in which the PV parking lot with the distributed renewable energy resources can be integrated with the electric vehicle. So one more thing is that you can work on this one of that PV parking lot with distributed renewable energy resources, which is one of the topics in which the researchers they are working on that a lot. And then the second one is the control and management of the PV parking lots. So that is also one of the important topic. If you see the control and management, in the control and management, you can also include the V2G, that is vehicle to grid. So instead of the G2V, that is grid to vehicle to grid. So for that, what we do and what are the different challenges that are faced for that model, that vehicle to grid. So we require the 2V communication for that. So and the unproven business model and economic justification would also be required for that very purpose. Like if you see that we have the electric vehicle, then for charging for this we are charging it, and during this when it is used with this charging infrastructure, it can provide the electricity to the grid for the stability purpose. So it is a control and management of a PV parking lots is one, and also one of the topics the researchers can work on that. So one more thing is the vehicle to building. So instead of that, we have the grid to vehicle. Then after that, we have the vehicle to building. So in addition to this, we have the vehicle to building also. This is also one of the concepts in which researchers are working. That is, it provides the backup power. It ensures the high quality power for the buildings and supplies power to the buildings when the grid power is costly. So it is also one of the, but for that the infrastructure is required. The building should be made such that it's allow the power from such type of sources, and so that infrastructure must be required. So it is also one of the concepts of, that the researchers are working on that. So and then vehicle to grid, that we already know. So then now we have now, along with that, one more thing is that for the smooth integration of this electric vehicle to the grid, instead of the charging centralized charging, we must decentralize the thing. So if we decentralize the things, in that very case, the charging stations at that very particular point, it will with the intelligent meters and all these things, it will decide when to when to charge and when not to discharge. So this shows the centralized charging approach, charging and discharging approach. In this case, the renewable energy generation, this utility has the information of the renewable energy regeneration. It have the information of all the vehicles and all that, and the central operator are working on that. However, instead of that, what we do, if we decentralized that, it means that this charging station must have the information of this different renewable energy generations, and then about the information about the vehicle status, and then it would be beneficial. So instead of using the centralized approach, if we are using the decentralized approach, and then in that very case, the stress on the whole of the this utility and the charging station, it will be reduced, and it will be beneficial for all of us. Now, some of the research areas in which the researchers can work on, future researchers can work on, that is the planning, control, and management strategies for the parking lots of PEVs, cyber security for plug-in electric vehicles in the smart grid, impact evaluation of plug-in electric vehicles on power system stability, strategies for the plug-in electric vehicle to grid, and the photovoltaic for peak demand reduction in urban regions in a smart grid environment, smart energy management in microgrid with the wind power generators and plug-in electric vehicles, using plug-in electric vehicles to implement the ancillary service in the smart distribution grids, plug-in electric vehicles management in smart distribution systems, optimal control of plug-in vehicle fleets in the microgrids, and energy management in the microgrid with the plug-in electric vehicle distributed energy resources and the smart home applications. So it's a vast area, and if one wants to start in power system area, suppose one is working in the power system area and wants to work on the different solutions of that. So first of all, we have to model it. Model this electric vehicle in terms of the load. So perfect load modeling is required for that. So when we model that load, then the main idea is to implement it. We can see whether it is a impedance load, it is a constant impedance, constant power type of load, or zip type of load. So so that should be implemented in the this if you want to do the load flow analysis, that should be implemented in that. However, since it is a kind of you can say that it is uncertain, you can say like wind and solar, there is a kind of uncertainty in that. So you can also work on the load uncertainty of the electric vehicles and integrate it. So these are some of the areas where the researchers can work on that. It is a very promising area, and you can say that many people are working on that to reduce the stresses on the grids to the different battery technologies. So I think, and different optimization method and the different ways to connect that so that it would be beneficial to all the stakeholders. So this is about the electric vehicle, and now thank you very much for this. Now, Dr. Viral, it's up to you.
Thank you very much, sir. It was indeed a thoroughly detailed lecture about the EVD, and you tried to cover all the thing like the basic concept of EVs, and then the storage part, charging part, and even the infrastructure. And then you also suggest us the different research area that people can work in the field of EVs, and also in the smart grid also, integration part also. So now this session is open for the question and answer. So if any participant have any question, so he can raise his hand or her hand, so we can open unmute. Okay, there is a participant, Dharmen Kumar Singh. So he want to ask something. Yes, Mr. Dharmen Singh, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Dharmen Kumar Singh. Sir, you can unmute yourself. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. This is a very good afternoon, and this session is really very fruitful and interesting from today's society as well as environment and industry challenges. So my question is that, sir, what are the challenges to implement EVs for policy planner, industry, and government?
Okay, so for industry, if you see that there must be some codes and regulations for because in every country they are implementing the codes and regulations. So if you see in India, there must be some codes and regulations. Like if you see that if we use electric vehicle and we use that we charge that particular vehicle near our homes also, then what happens that it will increase the loading at that particular point of the time, and all the things at that and that is transformers get stressed out, losses would be increased, and because we don't know exactly that where the load has been increased. So there must be some regulatory guidelines, that is there must be some permits for that very purpose. That is the one case that some like it is done in US level 1, level 2, and level 3. So that should be done in India also. Then we will have some kind of permission for this for charging, having the charging facilities, and then we will have the charging facilities like we have the in parking for the charging facilities, and we have codes and regulations. The main is that the codes and regulations must be there, and also if some smart meters must be installed at that very place. And suppose we connect at suppose at 6 p.m. we connect, and at that very time the load is very high. Our meter will not prefer that time. It will prefer the time at which the cost is less. So I think that step would be beneficial for the people.
Sir, may I ask one more question, if you allow?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, one thing, what I'm observing that basically we are talking about the smart grid and microgrid, DC grid, but still a lot things are required in basically rural areas and also in urban areas, because we could not maintain the frequency and voltage, especially in urban areas, rural areas. So it is very difficult to implement the smart grid widely in India. I hope, I don't know whether I'm right or wrong, because my dear sir, smart meters are not connected in most of the cities, villages. So it is very difficult to move from traditional grid over smart grid. So as it needs the required huge investment. So basically, yes, sir, please.
So what we can do, we can say that we can go for microgrid. So that is only viable option, because you know that if someone is purchasing the electric vehicle, then I think infrastructure involved is very high. So for the microgrid case, then we can use the combination of this renewable energy resources. Meanwhile, it needs the large investment from the government sector also, so that the things will improve. Because many of the urban areas still we don't have the smart meters. So I think in future we hope that the things will improve.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Dr. Neeraj, we have one more query. Professor Vijay Kumar S. Please, sir, unmute yourself.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Your session was very informative and very interesting, rather. It's a very elaborative way of deliberation. Okay, I have one basic question, sir. As far as it goes on, to have 1 unit of electrical energy at user end. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
You should consume 23 units of chemical energy, coal. I am talking specifically for nuclear.
Yes.
I'm having this basic question: in what way? Actually, that means we are en route. We are losing 22 units of energy. Right, sir? Okay.
Yes. Yes, sir.
In what electrical, whatever EV vehicles, this domain, what I'm talking. Even some of this, you talked about the fossil fueled this thing, what you call that hybrid, something like. Right?
Yes.
The technically optimal way of using electric vehicles, sir. What way it helps?
Yes, sir.
That's my basic question.
No, what I don't get you. Sorry. Hello.
Can I repeat?
So you want? Yes. You want to ask that is it right to have we are using burning more and getting less? Is that?
Especially in coal, sir. Coal.
Yes.
23 units chemical energy should be continued to have 1 unit of electrical energy at the user end.
Yeah. I got your point now. Actually, that's why. That's why we are promoting this electric vehicle along with the renewable energy resources. Though the electric vehicle has less, you can say, the emissions, carbon dioxide emissions, but still that concern always remain that the electricity is coming from like that. So what we do, we are more. That's why the focus would be more on the charging facilities where there are the renewable energy resources, like we have the rooftop of the buildings and like that, so that we can use that renewable energy, and we cannot stress that out on the power system. So I think that is also, I think, a very good question, and we are moving like that. That we want to that in the future we are working on that. That is, we are using the maximum the renewable energy for that very purpose.
Okay, one more question, sir. Please, sorry,
Yes.
one more question. Okay,
Yes,
rather this R&D activity should go in the energy management and energy conservation. As we know already, there is 1 unit saved is 2 units produced. Am I right, sir?
Yes, yes, sir.
A lot of things should be in the research and development activity should be done in energy conservation rather. That's my this.
Yeah, you are right. The energy conversation, this conservation, but I think the researchers are working on that. Maybe they will find some solution on that very thing. Maybe in future we can get that.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks. Sir.
Participant like to ask, so he can or she can ask. I think there is no more queries, sir.
Okay.
So from on the behalf of whole organizing team, I to thank you, sir, that you come and accept our invitation and give this elaborative lecture to us. And I believe that this lecture would help the people are working here in the integration part of using the EVs. Okay, so it will help to them also. So our program director and the head sir is also available. So, sir.
So I would like to thank personally Dr. Neeraj Gupta. So you accepted our invitation. So we are very thankful to you. You have spared a lot of time, and it was indeed a very good lecture and very relevant also, because we know all the nowadays the electric vehicles is the talk of the topic and is the future also for the transportation. So I hope all the participants have got at least something. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, sir. Thanks a lot for the opportunity. Okay, thanks.
So we can wind up the session.
Okay. Yes, so there is an announcement for all the participants. Our next session will be on, I think, 1:30 p.m. So in the next session, it's time for the lunch. So thank you to all who joined this session.
So thank you. We will meet at 1:30.
Yeah.
Okay.